Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is, what if Naruto is killed by Uchiha Sasuke on the retrieval mission, or was he? Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. He stood over Naruto, looking down at his fallen friend and rival. The fight between them was long and tireless, but Naruto had proven his point as the forehead protector on Sasuke's head was scratched. He felt something that told him that he shouldn't kill his best friend, his only friend. Whether for his own sake, as he didn't want to be like his brother, or the fact that if he did he would truly be alone in this world, even he didn't know. The skies cried for him, disguising his own tears. Sasuke's head tilted as he allowed the scratched forehead protector fall to the ground next to Naruto. He turned and staggered away to meet with the one who will give him power. "Don't worry, Dobi, I won't let him take my body, just don't die," and with those parting thoughts he was gone. The rain came down effortlessly. The river below him that had been nothing but a stream before ate away at the plateau where his body lay until it gave, collapsing him into the flowing water below. The river was no deeper than 6 feet and was relatively calm, but what does all that mean when you are unconscious? Kakashi's arrival. He looked around for any sign of his two pupils, only to see nothing but sheer destruction and a lone forehead protector with a scratch across the Konoha symbol that lay precariously on the edge of a cliff. He picked up the forehead protector, scanning the area with his Sharingan eye. He could only guess the worst. No sign of the brooding Uchiha. No sign of the orange jumpsuit wearing blonde ninja, the latter aching his heart more. "I am sorry, Sensei. I have failed your only legacy left in this world. I am sorry, Naruto. I have failed to make you into the ninja you have always wanted to be," Kakashi said to himself, thinking that if not one but both of his pupils may be dead, I was too late and too naive to see what was right in front my face. Kakashi, now infuriated with himself, clenched the lone forehead protector, and with skill and speed that could only be attained by a Junin, he leapt off of the cliff and onto the large body of water, running to report to the Hokage. Konoha would never be the same. Born second into a family of ninjas, a young girl with brown, shoulder-length hair and brown eyes now finds herself alone in this world, seeking temporary shelter in a cave overlooking a stream. Her heart burning with vengeance and a longing to find the one or ones responsible for her loneliness. Flashback. She was young at the time, younger than she was now, about 7 years old when she came home after playing in a nearby field. There was always something about berries, butterflies and flowers that made her forget the time. When she came home that day, what she expected was a scolding from her mother, but instead she was greeted by the bodies of her small family, laid out haphazardly all over the floor, fresh blood pooling under lifeless forms of her parents and 2 older brothers. This is the kind of reality a ninja must live with and learn to accept, but to a child of 7 years old who was not even old enough to join the academy, this was not her reality as yet. "Kira-chan," she heard the wheezy words of her father. She immediately dashed to his side, half frightened and half relieved that he was still alive. "I'm sorry that you have to see your family like this. Don't speak, Daddy. Save your strength. I'll go to town and get help, just wait in. Don't bother, little dove," her father croaked out, coughing up blood. "You can still make it, Otu-san. Just hold on," she cried, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Be quiet now, my dove," he said in a calm voice, as he raised a tired arm to wipe the tear from his daughter's face. "It is not safe here anymore, especially for people like us. Go to your mother and I's room and look under the mat." He desperately tried to continue talking despite the increasing difficulty of doing so, but he had to do this one last thing. "Under the mat you will see a seal carved into the floor. Place your blood unto the seal. What you shall see there is yours, as you are now the last." "But father." "No buts. Please, for your family's sake, survive. Leave this place. Be the happy, beautiful woman I had always dreamt you would become and beware of." Just like that he was gone, and despite her father's wishes, so did her joy, for all she knew in this world was her family. She still was too young to understand why she had no other relative or why they lived so far away from any town. Her young mind could only handle so much at a time. The only thing she thought was that she was alone and she wanted to know why and who was the cause. Since that day she has tracked her target with a single-minded goal of vengeance. A difficult goal, especially when you don't even know who the enemy is. All she knew was what she had taught herself about intelligence gathering. She would need more to seek her vengeance, but what else could she do? She had no kind of ninja training but just got by because of her looks and moved around too often to get caught. Her only possession, a large scroll which she is unable to open due to a time seal. Still too young. Pipe. Flashback end. The rain kept coming with no end in sight. It was not heavy though, just enough to give the quiet stream she was camping next to a bit of life, and that is when she saw it, something in the water being carried effortlessly by its flow. Sakura, Ino and Hinata were waiting at the gates of Konoha, each hoping beyond hope that everything went all right, especially seeing the kinds of damage their other friends had sustained. Sakura and Ino hoping that Naruto would bring Sasuke back safely, while Hinata, even though she never showed it to him, was more worried about Naruto than anyone else. It was not that she had no faith in his strength, but that is the sort of thing a person who cares for another would do. Words couldn't have expressed the feelings of fear and anxiety they all felt when they saw Kakashi making his way towards the gate, alone. Kakashi-sensei, she blurted out with tears in her eyes, where's Sasuke-kun? And where's that idiot Naruto? Ino added in. At the sound of his name, Hinata's heart suddenly dropped. What had happened to him, to the one she looked up to, admired and maybe even loved the most? He made a promise to Sakura to bring him back. I'm gonna kill him if he's making this a game, Ino continued. At Ino's last outburst about Naruto, Kakashi's characteristic stoic face fell for a moment into a look that if someone were looking carefully at him would have seen the shame, guilt and sadness under his mask and in his one eye. He quickly replaced his expressionless guise and said the one thing he thought best at the moment. I'm sorry, Sakura, but I'll have to talk to you later, but for now I have to talk to Hokage-sama. But before he could use Shunshin, Hinata grabbed him by his vest. Kakashi was shocked. He did not even know she was there. But why was she there? All of her teammates had already been returned to the village, including her cousin. Then it hit him. Please, Kakashi-sensei, she said, in a voice barely over a whisper, where is Naruto-kun? Kakashi was in trouble now. Even though Hinata never showed it, she was one of the most intelligent and perceptive kunoichi in the village and most of all, adored Naruto more than even Tsunade and Iruka, so there was no way he could get out of this. If not for her timidity and lack of self-esteem, she would be a force to be reckoned with. She was Naruto's complete opposite. Snorted Ino with disgust, I'm sure that stupid idiot. Kakashi could barely maintain his surprise. Timid Hinata sent Ino sprawling to the floor with a chakra-less palm strike to the solar plexus. You little bit, Ino said as she got up to return the favor to Hinata. However, Kakashi intervened before anything more happened. Enough, he shouted. This is not the time for this kind of behavior. I'm especially disappointed in you, Hinata. I don't care. This was a different Hinata. I just want to know what happened to Naruto-kun. She didn't even stutter once. She just had this look of sadness and regret on her face. Regret that she would never be able to tell him how she really felt about him or to know if he felt the same, if just a little. Kakashi breathed an exasperated sigh for what he was about to say to her, what he was about to say to all three of them. I arrived too late to stop Sasuke and Naruto, and when Pakun and I finally arrived, all that was left were signs of a terrible fight, in this. He pulled out a forehead protector with a gouge across the leaf symbol, and no sign of either Sasuke or Naruto. Kakashi pocketed the forehead protector and quickly and poofed away before they asked any more questions. So Sasuke kills Naruto and obliterates his body, then leaves, Ino surmised, typical of that idiot. He makes Sasuke-kun leave, then gets himself killed by him. And no, Hinata said, with a small smile at the corner of her lips and eyes downcast, Naruto-kun isn't dead. He wouldn't die so soon. Meanwhile, Sakura, who was quiet throughout the entire ordeal, was still trying to fight back tears that were clearly defeating her, couldn't understand how Hinata could say that after what Kakashi-sensei just said, especially knowing how she felt about Naruto. How can she be so calm? I know she is in love with the idiot, but Naruto fought against Sasuke-kun and no doubt lost, so how can she be so confident? Hinata, Sakura squeezed out, with tears still in her eyes, how can you be so certain? He fought against Sasuke, and shouldn't you be more concerned with getting Sasuke-kun back? Naruto-kun and Sasuke-kun are friends. If they fought like what Kakashi-sensei said, then he quite see clearly be betrayed us. She paused to collect herself, then said, and Naruto-kun survived his childhood. With that, she left the two confused girls and walked over to the gate to wait on Naruto. Tsunade was not just angry, she was angry at everyone, angry at Sasuke for leaving, angry at Orochimaru for attacking, and angry at Shizune for bringing more paperwork, and most of all, angry at Kakashi's lateness after she sent him to retrieve Naruto and Sasuke, so it was no surprise that Kakashi's news was the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back. Tsunade was no longer angry, more of a blind rage and anguish. If not for Jiraiya, who was sitting on the couch in the Hokage's office, Konoha would be mourning the loss of the copy nin Kakashi. She was inconsolable, and they all knew why. The curse had claimed its last victim. It had been a week since Naruto's supposed death, and nothing much had changed, except for the few parties that had broken out. Tsunade had finally calmed down to listen to Kakashi's entire report and dispatched several teams of Anbu to recover his body, but unbeknownst to her, the teams never really looked for him, for they too were happy with the demon child's death, so their reports were always of failure. The council had even refused to allow his memory to be honored, something about good riddance to bad demons. The council had even gone as far as to rebuke the Sandame's law pertaining to Naruto and his status as a Jinchuriki. Many people did not take it too well, especially some of the people he called friend. Two people approached the gates of Konoha. One, a girl of 15 years with waist-length white hair done in a single braid and a large scroll on her back below a backpack. She wore a red yukata and high-heeled sandals, kind of like Sakura and Tsunade's. The other, a blonde-haired boy with too many bandages on him to make out any identifying marks and dressed in a navy blue yukata and blue sandals. As they got closer to the gates, one of the guards stopped them to inquire their reason for coming to Konoha. "What is your purpose here at Konoha?" the guard inquired. "What? You don't recognize me?" Naruto pouted. "I've been gone a week and already they've forgotten me." "Naruto-kun, I think it's because you're wearing way too much bandages to be recognized by anyone," Akira stated. "Oh yeah?" Naruto grinned sheepishly, scratching the back of his head. Naruto. That really you? We were all told you were dead." "Hokage-sama will be so relieved," the guard said with a look as if he had won the lottery. "She has been sending out Anbu squads all week in search of you." "Dead? Tsunade-ba-chan thought I was dead." Naruto screamed out in his usual ultra-loud voice. At this, Akira was wondering how she managed to get herself mixed up with this loud mouth. Standing in the shade away from the booth, a young girl with midnight blue hair and pale lavender eyes stared on with mixed emotions. She waited by the gate for an entire week with nothing to hold on to but her faith in Naruto, that he would come back alive and safe. Many times her friends had tried to persuade her that it was a waste of time to be doing what she is doing. It had gotten worse when the news of Naruto's tenant was made public, but still she waited, from dawn to dusk, in rain or shine, and finally he was here. Naruto-kun, I knew you wouldn't die before you achieved your dream," she thought with bubbling admiration and joy at the fact of her crush returning alive. "But who is that girl? She's pretty. Is she with Naruto-kun?" he called her. "Akira-chan. I'm too late. If only I wasn't so shy." Hinata was mortified, yet at the same time relieved that he was okay. "Hey Katetsu-sensei, did something good happen when I was gone?" What is everybody celebrating? Naruto asked the guard, now recovered from his previous shock. Naruto had asked the one question Katetsu had hoped he wouldn't, but he was not about to be the one to answer him. No time to be wondering about that. Right now you need to get to Hokage-sama's office as quickly as possible. A quick change of topic, but unfortunately Akira is not as much of an idiot as Naruto is. You don't seem to want to answer that question, Akira pointed out, staring straight into Katetsu's eyes as if she was looking straight through him. So can you please inform us as to what they are celebrating? It was more of a demand than a question. Katetsu was trapped as he was under the inquisitive eyes of this white-haired 15 years old, but also those of a confused Naruto. Well, you see. Visitors. That was a close one. Who knows what would happen if he learns of what the festival was all about. A man in his late 30s staggered towards the group of three, obviously drunk from celebrating. You guys chose the best time to visit, we're celebrating the. No, you fool, but before Katetsu could stop him, the drunken fool had said it all, what the council had done and how the entire village was celebrating his supposed death, or rather, the death of the Kyuubi. It didn't matter. They saw Naruto and the beast as the same, at least, those without any kind of perception. There was no violent outburst, no swearing, not even any visible sign of rage, all there was sadness. I'm a real idiot, all this time I thought they had accepted me. At least I still have my friends. I wonder what Akira-chan thinks. Akira-chan, sorry you had to find out like that, do you still want to be friends? I would understand if you don't want to. You idiot, Akira smiled saying, that man is a fool, he can't see that you are the jailer and not the prisoner. I've known you for only a week and even I can tell the difference. Thanks Akira-chan, you're like the big sister I never had. He flashed her one of those fox grins and she blushed at this. Wait till you meet my other friends, Iruka-sensei and Kakashi-sensei. They soon left the guard booth and strolled along the streets of Konoha towards the Hokage Tower. They heard all the things the villagers had thought about him, and since he was covered in bandages no one recognized him, and obviously not even his teammate and the person he had a crush on for as long as he could remember. Sakura and Ino were walking along the road talking about all sorts of things, mainly about a certain Jinchuriki, when an oddly familiar boy with blonde hair and covered in bandages accompanied by a strikingly beautiful girl with snow-white waist-length hair suddenly waved to them. As usual, Ino was the first to introduce herself to the visitors. Hi, I'm Yamanaka Ino and this here is Haruno Sakura. Ino warmly introduced herself. I've never seen you guys around here before, did you come for the festival? No, we're just travelers and happen to be traveling through. What is this festival all about? I heard that it's in honor of a fallen comrade. She just couldn't help it. Naruto had told her all about his friends, his team and the girl he had a crush on for the longest while, and here she is looking sad, but for what? He had also told her about Sasuke's defection and Sakura's feelings towards him despite it all. Akira had to know if these people were really the same friends that Naruto had talked about. Honor, comrade? Sakura asked, no longer able to contain her emotions. Those are two words I will never use to describe that dobi. The word no longer felt like a barb between friends but like the chidori that Sasuke had stabbed him with. All his efforts were for naught, not even Ino looked to have disagreed with everything Sakura had said. It's his entire fault, Sakura wailed out, now completely in anguish. If that demon didn't exist, Sasuke-kun wouldn't have left me in the village. Demon? What demon? Akira asked, with false confusion. Naruto. He is the demon. At this she giggled. I guess I should say, was. He won't be hurting anyone anymore. This was the last straw and he couldn't take it anymore, but as soon as he was about to strip the bandages from his face and reveal his identity, a small voice came to his rescue. Someone he had not seen since the morning of the Chunin exam's final, someone who he had once sworn to avenge. Anyo, I am very surprised at you, Sakura-san. He was your teammate and Sasuke betrayed us on his own. Naruto-kun risked his life to try and bring him back. Sakura lost it. She hit the shy heiress with a blow so hard it would have put her out for a month, that is, if Naruto had not jumped in the way and took the punch instead. Also due to his close proximity to her, Hinata promptly fainted in his arms. Damn, why does she keep doing that? Naruto thought, looking puzzled. You've got to forgive Hinata, she'll think of anything to defend that doby. She loved him, you know, and he was so stupid that he was the only person who didn't notice. Ino finally piped up while restraining Sakura, who was in the midst of a screaming match with the unconscious girl which she so happened to be losing. Nevertheless, Naruto was shocked to hear this. How could Hinata like him? No, it's our fault, we shouldn't be dragging up this kind of painful stuff. Anyway, we've got to go, we'll take her home. Bye. Before Ino could ask their names or give them directions to Hinata's house, they were gone. That damn Hinata, how could she say such things about Sasuke-kun? Sakura pouted. Sakura, we may have a problem. Ino said, in a thinking stance. What are you talking about? I'm not sure about the girl, but the guy is definitely a ninja. Are you serious? I didn't see any forehead protector. How can you be certain? It's the way he moved, too fast for an average person. We've got to report this to Hokage-sama. But why does he look so familiar? Ino wondered. Naruto and Akira had made it back to Naruto's apartment with Hinata being carried by Naruto bridal style and found it to be in shambles. People had broken in and destroyed and defaced everything, from the cup ramen to the sofa. Akira felt her heart break. This was the peaceful and loving people he had spoken about and had pledged to give his life to protect, and they still treat him like a demon, an animal you just wish to get rid of. She couldn't stand it any longer and was determined to get him away from this place, but she wouldn't even have to try too hard if what Naruto said was any indication. My dream was to be respected and acknowledged by everyone in the village and to be Hokage. No, to be the greatest Hokage, so that I could protect those precious to me, but that group has dwindled so much. Think about it, if Sakura-chan, no, Sakura could say that about me, then what about the others? Well, you still have her, at least Naruto-kun, she said with a playful grin on her face as she pointed to the sleeping form of Hinata. So what do you plan on doing now, Naruto-kun? You obviously can't stay here anymore, and neither can she, judging by how that bitch Sakura was to her. Akira spat out her name as if it left a bad taste in her mouth. I know, I've got a plan to fix this entire problem and everything will be back to normal. As soon as Hinata wakes up, we're leaving for the Sound Village. Had he lost his marbles? In the meanwhile, Sakura and Ino were explaining their encounter to the Hokage with the mysterious ninja. He doesn't seem to be above genin rank, but he could have been hiding his strength, Ino explained. Ino made sure to edit what Sakura had said about Naruto and about Hinata as to not endanger themselves, seeing as how close the Hokage was to Naruto. This is serious. Get me Kakashi, you're dismissed, Tsunade ordered. Within moments, Kakashi was standing in front of Tsunade's desk, more stoic than usual. Kakashi was quite different since that day a week ago. He had not even picked up his favorite book. They no longer interest me anymore, he would say, but anyone with the least bit of sense knew the real reason, and that Kakashi was torn up inside. After all, he just lost the last descendant of his dead best friend and the only son of his dead sensei. Tsunade was not doing so well herself, but she was the Godime Hokage and she had responsibilities to attend to. If she had her way, she would send everyone who celebrated Naruto's death straight to Ibiki, or deal with them herself. You summoned me, Godime-sama. Yes, we seem to have some intruders in our village. This may give you a chance to get your mind of your troubles and vent some frustration, Tsunade said, as if she knew exactly how he felt, and indeed she did. Your mission is to track down these infiltrators and capture them alive if possible. Their description is one male with blonde hair covered in bandages about 13 years old and a female about 15 with waist-length white hair done in a single braid. Dismissed. Hi, Hokage-sama. Kakashi then disappeared in a puff of smoke to find his targets. All right, Hinata, you sure you want to come with us? You'll be leaving your family as well. After this there is no turning back. It's okay and Naruto-kun, I don't think I would be much missed at home. She said, the last part in a far softer voice which Naruto heard nonetheless. Hinata had awoken a short while later and Naruto had explained his plan to her, or at least the short of it, and invited her to come along. The truth of it was that Hinata would have left with him even if he didn't ask, she just couldn't lose him again. They were now outside the gates of Konoha, having already put some distance between them, ready to embark on their journey when Akira suddenly stopped. Having slipped by the guards, Hinata was understandably a little uneasy as she had walked out of Konoha in the middle of a large group of people using them to mask her presence. Not to mention when it is discovered that she had left the village, hunter nins would be sent after her since Naruto is supposed to be dead and there is no records of Akira. What the matter, Akira-chan? Naruto asked, seeing the worry on Hinata's face. Oh, nothing. I think I want a makeover right about now, she replied. Anyo, I don't think this is the right time to be doing that, Hinata said, a little confused and lightly relieved to the awkwardness of the timing. It's alright Hinata-chan, you've got to see this, it's really cool. Naruto assured her with a bit of excitement in his voice. Hinata stared with bated breath as Akira closed her eyes and clasped her hands in a hand seal to concentrate her chakra. Within moments her hair, which was previously lily white, was now a vibrant orange-red and her eyes had changed to a brilliant green. To say that Hinata was shocked would be an understatement, and for the first time her loss for speech had nothing to do with her shyness or being in the presence of Naruto. Hinata was abruptly brought out of her daze when she heard Akira ask her something. Hinata-chan, can I ask you a favor? Akira asked while rummaging about her bag for something. Why yes, what is it? Hinata silently replied, though still a bit shocked. Can you cut my hair for me? Akira asked in a girly manner that made Hinata sweat drop due to her difference in behavior from earlier as she held out a pair of scissors. What? Hinata asked, feeling a little pressured from all the attention. Well, you're the only girl around here, and any friend of Naruto is a friend of mine, especially when they're as cute as me, she said, and then leaning in closer so that only Hinata could hear, besides I don't think that Naruto-kun would know what to do with scissors. I heard that, Naruto yelled, now frustrated and losing his patience with the two females of his groups who now decided to play dress-up in the middle of the road. Good thing no one was around. It is true, Naruto knew nothing of girls, not even if one liked him to the point of fainting around him. Hinata giggled, then took the pair of scissors from Akira. How would you like it cut, Akira-chan? Just below the shoulder blades in a straight. But before she could finish her description she was interrupted by something that sounded like birds chirping wildly. Chidori. It was all they heard before a masked, silver-haired man flew at them with one hand ablaze in electricity. Naruto managed to jump out the way in time, rolling to his side, the ground exploding where he once was. Tell me your name and purpose for infiltrating Konoha and kidnapping the Hyuga heiress, the next time I won't miss. The tone of his voice was cold, his eyes narrowed at the blonde bandaged boy. No Kakashi-sensei, you don't understand, that's, Hinata was cut off when Kakashi turned at her. This is no time to be sympathizing with the enemy, Kakashi said while still staring at the blonde-haired boy. Naruto looked down, all sorts of emotions bubbling under the surface. Kakashi-sensei, Naruto said in a low voice, first Sakura-chan and now you, why don't you recognize me? How dare you use the death of my student as means to your goal? Kakashi was now livid, I'll kill you for this insult. Kakashi flipped through the few seals required for his trademark jutsu. But before he had a chance to impale the boy, Hinata stood in front of Naruto ready to receive the Chidori in his stead. Sorry Naruto-kun, guess I'll never get the chance to tell you, I love you. If not for Kakashi's quick reflexes Hinata would have been dead. Hinata-chan, Naruto choked out, you would do this for me? The only person who had ever put their life on the line for him was none other than Sasuke, and even though they wouldn't admit it in normal situations they had become good friends. Now here Naruto was, being protected by the last person he'd expect. Anything for you, Naruto-kun, she said with the sweetest smile Naruto had seen directed at him. Just then, Naruto became angry and slightly ashamed that he almost lost one of the last precious persons he had. Thank you, Hinata-chan, he said to her with a broad grin that caused her to faint. At the sight of this, Kakashi almost had a heart attack hearing his name. Hinata is a shy girl, but there is only one reason that she would do such actions, Naruto. Take of those bandages, Kakashi said in his usual stoic relaxed voice, they cover your distinguishing features. Bandages, distinguishing features, he said, confused by the masked Junin's remarks as he raised a hand to his face. What are you talking about, Kakashi-sensei? There is only one person I know that is that dense, but I still have to confirm it. Haha, I completely forgot that those were there. He scratched the back of his head while removing the bandages from his face. Kakashi was dumbstruck, but then again this was Konoha's #1 most surprising ninja. Kakashi quickly hid his surprise under his stoic visage and smiled under his mask, making his one visible eye turn up to show that he was smiling. It is you, Naruto. Why are you leaving, and who is this girl behind me trying to look scary? Naruto was glad to see his sensei act his usual self, a sure sign that he recognized him and did not hate him like a certain pink-haired kunoichi, but Akira was anything but happy, especially when she was made out by Kakashi like that. Akira's bluff was caught. She simply huffed at him and took Hinata from the blonde's hands and rested her against a tree. So are you going to tell me? Because I need to know what happened, and maybe you can come back. Kakashi never got to finish what he was saying as Naruto cut him off, anger and sadness evident in his voice. This is Akira, and thank you for acknowledging me in my dream, but you know what is going on back in Konoha and the reason why. Naruto then looked up, the pain written in his cerulean eyes, a slight crack in the mask. Besides, they think I'm dead, and if I prove them wrong then the council might try to make me disappear, and I've already seen what some of my friends think of me. For the second time that day Naruto had surprised his Junin sensei. Since when did he become so insightful? But he still had to try to get him back. He failed with Sasuke. Maybe Naruto would listen to him. That may be true, Naruto, but you have the Godime on your side as well as me and Iruka, even Jiraiya-sama. So what do you say, Naruto? Let's go home. I'm already dead, Kakashi-sensei, and Konoha is no longer home to me anymore. The people who didn't see me as a demon and protect me, he said, and his eyes glanced over to Hinata's sleeping form now waking up, are being treated like scum because of me. I won't let my friends suffer because of me. Think about Hinata, Naruto. Kakashi was desperate now. They'll send hunter nins after her. I'll protect her with my life, for that is my nindo. Kakashi should have expected this. I saw how Sakura treated her when she defended me from her, and if Sakura would do that, then I don't want to know what other would do to her. Kakashi knew he couldn't convince the stubborn blonde when his mind was made up, so he did the best thing he could have done. He let them go. What Naruto said was true. He was already labeled as dead, and with his death being celebrated, bringing him back now would be a very bad idea. The fact that Hinata would be safer with him than within the confines of the village was true, seeing as how everyone knew her true feelings for the blonde idiot. Well, I guess I have no choice then. Be safe, Naruto, and take care of Hinata. If you need anything, just ask, he said with a wink in his eye, then looking at Akira said, and make sure to keep him out of trouble. Well, there are a couple of things. What is it, Naruto? Kakashi wondered. Naruto dipped his hand in his pocket and pulled out his hittite and handed it to Kakashi. Give that to Iruka sensei. Tell him I will make him proud. I'm not dead and not to tell anyone. He stopped to pause for breath. Don't tell anyone that I'm still alive except Tsunade Ba-chan, she'll know what to do. You're going to try and rescue Sasuke by going to Orochimaru's village, aren't you? It was more of a statement than a question. Then he looked up and then smiled. Yay, it's the only way to show them I'm not a monster. He said in a lower tone, but immediately donned his mask of joy and continued, besides, I made a promise, and I guess this is it. The next time we meet I'm going to kick your and get the bell. I suppose you do, but before you go there is something I should tell you that you deserve to know. I hope it makes up for my neglect. What is it, Kakashi-sensei? It's the true identity of your father. If Naruto's eyes wasn't attached to his head it would have rolled out. You knew who my parents were this whole time and you didn't tell me. Yes, but I had no choice. The Sandaime-sama's law was in effect. Sorry, Naruto. Just tell me. Your mother's name was Uzumaki Kushina of the former Whirlpool country. And my father. The suspense was heavy, so heavy that even Akira forgot why she was previously angry and Hinata started biting her fingernails. Your father was Namikaze Minato-sama, but you all, as he now addressed the curious onlookers in Hinata and Akira, know him as Yondaime Hokage. It had been a month since Kakashi's confrontation with a certain blonde ninja. Who would have thought that Naruto would have reacted like that? Flashback. And my father. The suspense was heavy, so heavy that even Akira forgot why she was previously angry and Hinata started biting her fingernails. Your father was Namikaze Minato-sama, but you all, as he now addressed the curious onlookers in Hinata and Akira, know him as Yondaime Hokage. Nani? My father was the fourth. This was a day that neither of the four would forget because as soon as Naruto heard of his parentage he asked out in a fashion not unlike Hinata. Kakashi's one visible eye curved upwards as he turned and said, "He does that better than even you," getting a deep blush from Hinata for his words. Flashback end. Kakashi had given the Hittite to Iruka as Naruto had asked and given him the message. He had never once seen such pride and joy in Iruka's eyes toward anyone. He had also told Tsunade of his encounter with Naruto and his group and was pleasantly surprised when Tsunade decided to keep it as an S-class secret not to be repeated to anyone else. She even made Kotetsu swear an oath of silence on the topic. The only problem was what to do about Hinata's father. He had pressured her to send out hunter nins after his daughter after she had not come home in 3 days and no one had seen her. Unfortunately, doing so would reveal the new S-rank secret. Naruto and his group now find themselves in the middle of nowhere hopping from tree to tree, hoping to keep a lot of distance between them and the hunter nins of Konoha. He looked like the very description of frustration. Why, you may ask? The plan that Naruto had hatched was a plan to rescue Sasuke from Orochimaru by infiltrating the Sound Village itself and bringing him back. It was a good plan except for a few loose ends, such as, he didn't know where exactly Otogakure was. The only person with an idea was Akira, who only knew that it was in Rice Field Country, but which part, even she didn't know. It just so happened, Jiraiya was on a mission that crossed paths with Naruto's plans. He was gathering intel on the hidden Sound Village and its activities. Unfortunately, Naruto's plan was a failure, leaving Hinata and Akira thinking themselves as failures even though Sasuke and Orochimaru was not there to begin with. The only positive outcome was that they had created an ally in the former glorious Fuma clan of Rice Field Country by freeing them from Orochimaru's treacherous grasp, but sadly, at the cost of 3 of their strongest members of the Fuma clan, one of which, the elder brother of their new friend Fuma Sasama. So, they now find themselves several miles from Rice Field Country fleeing from the hunter nins of Konoha. It was not that they were all being hunted. How could they? Akira had no business with the Leaf Village and Naruto is, officially, dead, so why would the hunter nins be after them? The truth of the matter was that they were not. They were after Hinata. The kidnapping attempt by Kumo and her behavior after Naruto's supposed death lead a lot of people to one of 2 decisions of what could have happened to her once it was discovered that she was missing for several days. Naruto-kun, what do you think would happen to us if the hunter nins catch up to us? Huh? What do you mean? When news of your death came, almost no one was remorseful, only a few of the rookie 9 and the Junin sensei. If the hunter nins discover you still alive, they might try to kill you for real. Just the thought of such a fate dropped her in a depressed state. Akira, who was at their sides, was in a puzzle. She had no idea what was so special about these hunter nins. Sorry about butting in, but what's so special about these hunter nins? Aren't they just ninja? Oh, that's right, you were never part of a hidden village. Naruto realized before he explained. They're ninja trained to hunt down and either kill and dispose or return missing nins to their village, or something like that. Kakashi-sensei explained it better. So why are they after us? We're not missing. Just then she caught a glance of Hinata, barely able to hold back her tears. Oh, Hinata, I didn't mean anything. Sorry Akira-san. Naruto-kun, if it weren't for me you wouldn't be in such a situation. She was no longer able to control her emotions. Maybe I should give myself up, maybe they would. But before she could get a chance, Naruto stopped the entire group in the clearing they were currently in and stared at her in her pale lavender eyes with an expression that was not rage, but one that was filled with determination. He had seen how they had treated her because of him, how her life because of him looked so much like his younger life. Naruto would not allow this, especially with the knowledge of how she feels about him. Hinata, he said in a low tone, I have seen how they treated you because of me and I have lost a lot of precious people, but I now know the ones who are truly precious to me, who truly matters. You are one of those precious few and by my nindo I will get stronger and protect you and those precious to me with my life. Naruto-kun says I'm truly precious to him. Thank you Naruto-kun. A meek smile played itself across Hinata's delicate face. Yeah Naruto-kun, you're great. Akira was a hopeless romantic, with a handkerchief in her hand sniffling and wiping ravines of tears from her eyes. Over the past week she had come to understand how much Hinata really thought of Naruto, not to mention she more or less interrogated her when they were alone on Hinata's true purpose for coming with them. Akira had come to think of Naruto as a little brother and the citizens of Konohagakure were not on her most trusted list. How foolish, noble, but foolish. An old man, who looked to be in his mid-80s, dressed in a dull gray cloak, telltale signs of mesh peeking out from underneath the sleeves and wrist guards similar to those of the Toad Sennin Jiraiya. From under the long sleeve of his robes where he clutched onto a staff that looked old and polished from use and stood on a pair of wooden getas. His bald head shone in the light and his foot-long beard was tied neatly with a string at the end and his long whiskers swayed gently in the breeze. In his eyes burned a power that none of the three children had ever seen before, a power not only gained by years of honing one's skill but by experience. They were looking into the eyes of a true shinobi and his lips separated to give them a toothy grin. Hinata was the first to gauge a glimpse of how strong this man in front of them was. He's definitely old but he walks far too easy for his apparent age and we didn't even sense him until he talked, were Hinata's thoughts. What the hell do you know, old man? Naruto was never one for respect, tact or manners, especially for someone that pried in his business, and where the hell did you come out from? That was some of the dumbest shit I've heard and you call yourselves ninja. Hehehe. The old man belt out a high-pitched laugh as he walked towards the trio with an unnatural grace and swiftness. What kind of idiot protects his loved ones with his life? You stupid old fart, how dare you? If you weren't so old I'd rip you apart, but as a shinobi it wouldn't be fair. Anyo, Naruto-kun, I don't think you should be insulting this guy like that. Akira reasoned, in a whisper, keeping an eye on their uninvited guest. There is something about him that makes me uneasy. I agree and Naruto-kun, Hinata said, just as silent. Byakugan now activated, he is an ninja and his coils are experienced. I've never seen anything like it, they're huge. It's okay you guys, look how old he is, he's ancient, and one punch and I could kill him. Not that he was arrogant, he just couldn't see how such a relic could be a threat, ninja or not. That's some of the funniest words I've ever heard in decades. You three can't possibly be ninjas. What do you mean, old man? Naruto was almost ready to lose it. Well, you're too loud, you have no discipline, you are not even aware of your surroundings and you depend too much on the beast within you. The Hyuga there can be summed up in one word, pathetic. Hinata's head was immediately cast down. Here was a man who they had only known for 5 minutes and seen her for what she was. Or was she misunderstanding? Father was right, I am weak, I'm only keeping Naruto-kun back. But before she could continue with her self-berating, the old man continued. And the rather bright one there, raising a shaggy gray eyebrow at Akira. Has no skill whatsoever. Honestly, I'm surprised you're not dead yet. With that beacon of a jumpsuit in her hair, you rival even the sun. Naruto couldn't take it any more. His eyes that were once blue now blood red, with slits as pupils like a savage animal. I'm only going to give you one chance to apologize. Make me, came the rather childish rebuttal from the ancient man standing there, as if he wasn't even concerned with or fazed by the killing intent pouring of the loud ninja. You can insult me all you want, but don't you dare hurt her. Naruto took out 4 kunai and hurled it in the direction of the smiling old man and charged at him full pelt in the wake of the flying weapons. The old man's smile didn't wane. He simply caught the kunais out of the air with inhuman swiftness and returned them to the blonde ninja, catching his clothing at the shoulders and leg of his trousers with such force that his entire direction was reversed, pinning him against the trunk of the tree on the other side of the clearing and so secure that he couldn't move. Amazing. Both Akira and Hinata gasped in unison, not trusting their eyes at the unbelievable feat they had just witnessed. The old man, still in his original position, had just neutralized Naruto with nothing more than a simple movement of the arm, or at least that was the assumption because they never actually saw him catch the kunais and throw them. Alright, I see you're serious, so now I'm going to give you a chance. The old man, now staring at the immobile form of Naruto, perched the staff precariously on a rock with a bell on either ends. If you can touch this staff once in the next 10 minutes, I will wholeheartedly apologize for my words. You two can help him if you want. What if we can't do it? Akira asked. He. I kill the stupid blonde loudmouth and then I'll apologize. What do you say, Blondie? You accept? No, Naruto-kun. It's not worth it. Hinata was breaking under the pressure of this man as she shouted at the top of her lungs. Don't worry about me. I don't want you to get hurt because of my weakness. Oh, did I mention that if he backs down? Now, with sweat pouring off Akira's brow and fear implanted in her and Hinata's heart as he shifted his attention to the 2 prone girls, I shall kill them both and make you watch, since you were too weak to protect them. His face was placid as he promised death to the genin and one partial civilian. So, what do you say? He suddenly disappeared from the middle of the clearing to reappear next to Naruto, still struggling to free himself from the embedded kunais in the tree. Oh, mighty protector. No longer was the sound of his voice one of cheerfulness, warmth and joy, but of cold hard ice. I will protect those precious to me with my life, and I made a promise to Hinata. Naruto's voice roared as the Kyuubi's chakra engulfed his form, sprouting a tail made of red chakra, giving him the strength to pull his pinned limbs of the tree and turning to stare into the dark brown eyes of a warrior that had seen many bloody battles and countless fears of the old man. And I never go against my word, for that is my nindo. About 5 minutes away, a team of 4 men in Anbu gear and masks were hot on the trail of the missing Hyuga heiress. They stopped along the path they were currently traveling to inspect the trail they were currently following. Taicho, one of the men, spoke calmly to his superior. Their trail is very fresh here and getting warmer. Good, the captain replied in an anxious and somewhat relieved tone. How long till we catch up to her? The captain had a good reason to get the girl back home as soon as possible, because he didn't know if even the Hokage could save him from Hiyashi's wrath if this mission was failed. The strange thing, what troubled the captain, was his vague parameters. All he said was to bring her back alive. Somehow he pitied the girl. 5 minutes, Taicho, he said, touching the ground, but this is strange. What's strange? The captain queried. He didn't need any complications. There seems to be 2 other persons with her, he stated, inspecting the footprints and broken twigs, 1 male and 1 female, roughly about her size and stature. Okay. They're just kids, he said, feeling his mission will be without delays or complications, and with an authoritative command he continued, move out, let's wrap this one up. But a feeling in his stomach kept telling him that this mission was about to get a lot more complicated than he had bargained for. The old man stood there staring Naruto into his animal eyes, his back towards the balancing staff and temporarily paralyzed girls, and as Naruto was about to charge he raised his palm, halting the furious blonde. Let's make this a little interesting, shall we? He said, As he reached into his cloak and removed a piece of cloth which he tied around his eyes, "Now you may begin. You'll be apologizing a lot sooner than you think, old man," Naruto said in a far too loud voice. "You're underestimating me. For insignificant little whelps such as you all." He paused for effect, turning his head in the direct where he believed Hinata and Akira still were. "I don't need to make assumptions." He formed the all too familiar seals and shouted out his technique. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Impressive. He obviously knows how to perform the jutsu well, the all-man thought to himself, but I wonder if he could pull that much off with his own chakra and not the beast's. Guess I'll find out later. In the once sparse field, nearly 200 of Naruto's clones erupted from the smoke. They dashed at the staff perched on the rod, covering the distance in the blink of an eye, but to their surprise the blindfolded old man appeared in front of them and mowing down the clones like shogi at an all-you-can-eat buffet. Front kick, reverse punch, knife hand chop, roundhouse kick, spinning roundhouse kick, backhand slap, and all manner of taijutsu strikes rained upon the Kyuubi-empowered boys' clones for almost 5 minutes straight. Right after he dealt a rising knee to a clone, dispelling it, he drove a palm strike into Naruto's gut so hard that it sent him flying towards the two girls. Hinata was still too shocked at the old man's display of power as he single-handedly destroyed nearly 100 of Naruto's clones and sent him flying with a simple palm strike. So she barely had time to move out of the way of Naruto's path if it wasn't for Akira pushing her out of the way. In his rage, he didn't see the girls as he flew past them and landed roughly on the ground and coming to a stop a couple seconds later. He stood up from the trench he had created, staring heatedly at the still blindfolded old man, standing as if he was on a Sunday stroll. It angered him, but more importantly, he was becoming fearful, not of the aging man's strength but because he was running out of time and the threat of losing the one person who loved him for so long, even when he was lonely, and the person he thought of as a big sister was becoming more and more eminent as the seconds ticked away. Little did he know, the Kyuubi was feeding off of these emotions to further loosen the seal and slowly corrupt his mind. They had traveled for the past 5 minutes in pursuit of the Hyuga heiress and her accomplices, but what they found had them all wondering of their sanity. "Do you see it?" the dog-masked man said. "Because I think I am seeing things, Captain." "As much as it upsets me to say it," the captain replied, "you're not. Apparently the demon brat wasn't killed at the valley. What I want to know is, who is that other girl and the old geezer," said a woman wearing a bird mask. "I don't care who the hell he is," spat the monkey mask wearing Hunter Nin, "but I want revenge on that demon for what he did to my brother." As he drew his weapon and charged at the unsuspecting boy, he felt a firm hand grab onto his shoulder. It was his captain. "Hold on there for a minute," spoke the captain in an odd cheery tone. "The old man seems to be handling the brat with more than enough ease." "So what?" barked Monkey Mask. "In that state it is highly unlikely we could do him much harm, so if we let the old man deal with him we can just take him out when he's tired, take the brat's head, bring back the Hyuga, and we'll be heroes without even breaking a sweat." "All due respect, Taicho," Monkey Mask said, "what makes you so sure of your plan? The geezer looks pretty tough, he's even wearing a blindfold. We've got the element of surprise." "Fine," huffed Monkey Mask, "just as long as I get to cut of his head." "What of the other female, Taicho?" the female hunter Nin asked. "We bring her back to the village for questioning," responded the captain. "Now get ready, it looks like it's coming to a close." His 3 subordinates immediately released a hushed chorus of "Hi," as they took up strategic positions around the clearing. Naruto had formulated a plan with the 2 girls. He would distract the old man while they sneak around and grab the staff, with Hinata backing up Akira in case the old man figured out the ploy. Unfortunately, the old man saw through their plan, and with a few swift movements that strangely resembled Juken, Hinata, who still had her Byakugan activated, couldn't help but gasp as she saw the man, who is obviously not a Hyuga, do something similar to her family's patented style of fighting, only his way was more flowing and fluid, like a dance, beautiful and deadly at the same time, truly a gentle fist. She was so shocked that she was brought to reality when a resounding slap rung through the air. The aged man, after paralyzing Naruto with his Jukin imitation, suddenly appeared in front of Akira as she was just in reach of the precariously perched staff and backhanded her and sent her sprawling. Unfortunately for her, she had no ninja training whatsoever, so with that blow, it was pretty much the end of her as she was welcomed into unbiased unconsciousness. What did you do to Naruto-kun? Hinata stuttered as the man slowly turned around to face her direction. The old man laughed, further unnerving the shy Hyuga girl. He failed, so now it's up to you. There are still about 45 seconds remaining. You can still save your friends if you aren't weak, or do you want to watch her die? He pointed to an unconscious Akira. Or maybe you want him to live the rest of his life with the loss of his last loved ones, a fate worse than death. He was taunting her, but he wasn't taunting her into giving up, but to get her to fight with all of her heart. That was exactly what he got. Hinata got into a Jukin stance and stared squarely at the old man. She wasn't about to let her new friend die, nor let the one she loved a life of heartache and sorrow because she was too weak to take a stand. This is the day that shy meek Hyuga Hinata changed, as all her fears, worries and doubts were cast aside. The day she found her strength. Thank you, Naruto-kun, for believing in me even when I didn't believe in myself, so today I shall be the one saving you. You will not hurt my friends, for I will stop you with everything I have. She said in such a tone that even Hiashi would have flinched. Then come, little girl, show me what you have. With that, Hinata burst forward with as much speed as she could have mustered, readying the most powerful Jukin strike she had ever performed. As she reared her hand back to deliver the killing blow to the heart of her opponent, she smiled as she was getting ever closer and closer to the man as he hadn't moved. The old man, instead of moving, he simply grabbed the wrist and with a swift movement tossed her in the same direction in which she was headed. Naruto, still trying to get free of his binding, heard every last one of the old man's taunt to the Hyuga heiress. Coupled with the fact that he was already enraged due to the old man's initial taunt and the fact that he might lose his friends, what the old man said to Hinata was like adding fuel to the fire, literally, because behind him another tail of chakra began its growth, and upon becoming full, Naruto gained the power he needed to break free of whatever had his muscles locked and made a mad charge at the staff which was behind the old man. Since he was in a direct line with the old man and the staff on the rock, Naruto was not able to avoid the collision course he was on with Hinata, partly due to his breakneck speed and partly due to his blind rage. She crashed directly into him with the sound of flesh and bone colliding into flesh and bone. Hinata was immediately knocked unconscious with severe burns about her body where she had made contact with Naruto's body in the collision. Naruto could only stare as he got up and looked at her unmoving form. What happened? Naruto spoke. What have you done to her? When Hinata had collided with Naruto, the Jukin strike which she had prepared for the old man slammed into Naruto, bringing him back from his near-psychotic rage. Look closely, the old man said as he turned around, pulling of the blindfold off his eyes. Those burns look like they were caused by an evil chakra, the chakra which you were using. His world was shattered. He wanted to protect her, and in the end he had hurt her more than their enemy ever did, but he was soon brought from his self-berating by a chuckle. What's so funny, old man? Naruto snapped in his direction, glaring daggers at him while he held Hinata in his arms. Oh, nothing, it's just that your time is up. Fear was written on Naruto's face. Was he going to lose her now? No, he would fight to protect them, but without the Kyuubi, it did more harm than good. He would fight to the last breath, but as he lay Hinata gently on the ground and he pulled out a kunai out of his pouch, the old man started smiling again. What's so funny now? Naruto screamed, desperately trying not to lose his temper. Even if I die here, you will not harm either of my friends. Let's say you do die protecting them from me, the old man said with a level stare. Who is going to protect them from the 4 waste of time ninjas taking up positions around this clearing for the last 5 minutes? This caught Naruto completely by surprise. He's right. What should I do? I'm not strong enough to handle all this by myself. I might just have to. He was snapped out of his thought when he felt a hand grasp his shoulder. When he looked, he saw that the old man was smiling, not like his previous maniacal smiles, but one that said, "I'm proud of you. Looks like you figured it out." Naruto only nodded. "You pass." Naruto was paralyzed. He had fought for the life of his two most precious people and it had not been enough. Then to hear he had passed, not to mention the revelation of the hunter nins lurking in the tree line. This was too much. "Why?" he asked, feeling as helpless as a newborn deer. "Why would you?" But before he could finish, the sound of feet running through grass brought him back to full alertness as he prepared to face of the new threat. However, before he could do anything, the old man stopped him. "Let me handle this," he said as he stepped forward, grabbing his staff from the rock, allowing the bell to drop to the ground. The old man stood in front of Naruto and his group as the four Konoha hunter nins stopped. "I see that you knew we were there this whole time," Monkey Mask snarled. "It's no matter. Out of the way, old ma, before I kill you along with that demon brat." "How far has the ninja fallen?" the old man said in a sage-like tone with pity. "Unfortunately, I have taken an interest in these three, so you would just have to fail your mission." "That is quite unfortunate," the captain said, drawing a sword from his back. "Kill him and the demon and take the girl for questioning." The four of them lunged at him. Naruto just stood there in shock as this ancient-looking man single-handedly killed the four hunter nins in just a few moments with nothing more than his bare hands and a few shuriken. When the last hunter nin hit the floor, the old man turned to look at Naruto. "Before, you said you want to get stronger so you can protect her, is that right?" the old man asked. "Yes, more now than ever." Me too," a very shook-up Hinata said with as much surety as she had ever done. Please train us so we can become stronger." "I would like to get strong as well." Akira, who had woken up in time to see and hear enough to figure out the old man is not an enemy. "I do not want to be a burden and I don't need being protected." To say that she was embarrassed with her one-hit wonder performance would be an understatement. The old man smiled his toothy smile as he watched the determination in their eyes. These children now knew what it was they had to do to truly protect their loved ones. "Very well," he said, his smile slowly growing into something sinister. "But before I take any of you as my students, there is one thing you must know and understand." "What is that, sensei?" Akira asked. "You may quit at any time you like," he stated, getting questioning looks from the three youngsters, "but if you do, you may never return and your training will never be complete." "Understood," he was answered with a chorus of "Hi" from all three children. "Good. Any questions, because from now on you will be punished for any foolish questions." That last statement had them all wondering what they had got themselves into. Then, in a surprisingly polite manner, Naruto asked the question that has been gnawing on their minds from the beginning. "Who are you?" He got into stance with his body at attention, the staff held behind his back in his left hand and his right fist in front of his lips with the index and middle finger pointing upwards. "I am Nin Master Jinta Kyoshi, last master and keeper of the ancient shinobi way. You, from now on, may refer to me as either sensei or Master Kyoshi." Naruto, his companions and their new sensei have been running for 3 days, stopping only eat and get a short rest. On the third day they came upon what looked to be a small cabin. It looked quite simple and modest from what they could see from the outside. "Wait here," the old man said, as he walked into the house. A few moments later he emerged from the house with a very crammed backpack with pots and other necessary kitchenware dangling at its side and in his hands. 3 layers of what looked like neatly folded pieces of cloth, but as he came closer it turned out to be 3 suits of clothing and 3 pairs of ninja tabis. As he came closer to the group of ninja trainees he took of the backpack and handed it to Naruto, the suits of clothing to Hinata and the staff to Akira. He made it look so easy, but the backpack and clothing were a lot heavier than they first perceived, to the point that Naruto fell to his knees under the immense weight and Hinata's knees began to buckle under her load. After watching them with what could be described as either pity or disgust, the old man proceeded to flip through a list of hand seals, and as he completed them, holding at the last seal, he looked at his new students in the eye, serious as ever. "This is when your training officially begins, Ninpo. Kuchsaki no Jutsu. As he said it, they began to slowly sink into the ground. If Hinata wasn't so loaded down, she would have latched onto his arms. Hokage-sama. Tsunade looked up from her desk where she had been reluctantly doing her paperwork to regard the Anbu kneeling before her. I have urgent news. What is it? The Anbu team that was sent after Hyuga Hinata had been killed. What? Tsunade shocked at the possibility. Any evidence as to who did it and how? Where were they found? Evidence shows that all 4 Anbu members seemed to have been killed where they stood, by a single assailant. How were they killed? There was no damage to the skin, bones, or muscle tissue, only the organs were damaged. At that last bit of description, Tsunade sighed. Only Jiyukin could kill an enemy like that. She was still astonished that the shy, quiet Hyuga heiress could do such a thing, but the events before her disappearance quickly destroyed that feeling. But no matter the cause, Tsunade had a duty to do, and it would break the hearts of all those who know her. Have the bingo books updated listing Hyuga Hinata as an A- class missing nin to be captured on site. Hi, Hokage-sama, is there anything else? Yes, she said, imagining the headache she would receive sooner or later. Inform Hyuga Hiyashi. With that, the Anbu agent disappeared from the office, leaving Tsunade with her thoughts. Take good care of her and yourself, Naruto, because from now on both your lives and your other friends' lives have become so much harder, she thought, a little sad as memories of her little brother passed through her mind while she fingered the pendant around her neck. Now what did Shizune do with my sake? Master Kyoshi and his new students emerged out of the ground in front of a large house built in a traditional Japanese style. They entered into the structure, leaving their footwear at the door, and entered into a huge meeting area as the master began to give them a brief tour of the area. There was a kitchen, eating area, a large bedroom which Master Kyoshi pointed out as his room. There were rooms which looked to be for formal occasions, but the most startling thing was that there were no modern conveniences of any sort, not even beds. At the back of the house were the training areas, a large courtyard, and a very large dojo with weapons of every kind imaginable, from swords to ninja wire. He pointed to a door on the other side of the dojo. You will change in there. He handed them each a suit of clothes each that seemed to weigh a ton. From now till I deem you are worthy ninjas, this is your new home. You will eat, sleep, and train together. Hinata blushed furiously at the thought of sleeping with Naruto. Naruto was not so clueless as his usual self. After all, he did learn that Hinata loved him. But Master, Akira never got to finish as Kyoshi cut her off. Is there a problem? Like hell there is, Naruto interjected. There are girls here and you expect us to change in the same room. Master Kyoshi just started him and chuckled. You seem to be lacking greatly in discipline, so that is the first thing you shall learn. With that, he disappeared from view and grabbed Naruto from the back, pinning him to the ground in such a way that it felt as if his shoulder would be ripped out of its socket. Watch the way you speak to others, it may just be the end of you. The words came out of his mouth with frost as Naruto felt the sharp edge of a kunai pressed against his throat. So what do you have to say for yourself? Sorry, Naruto stuttered. Sorry, master. Good. Now get up and go change, all of you, he barked. You have chosen the path of the ninja, therefore you must grow up. He was greeted with a chorus of, "Hi master," from his 3 charges, but before they disappeared into the room he gave them a piece of advice. Remember, as ninja you cannot be distracted by the form of the opposite, as alluring as it may be. The last part much quieter, and you must be familiar with your companions in as much way as possible. There is nothing to be ashamed of, well, as long as you don't become obsessed. This seemed to have a comforting effect on the 3, especially Hinata. Oh, and one more thing, he smiled a little as Akira, who was in the lead, stopped to listen. When you manage to get those suits on, meet me in the meeting room. You have half an hour. There I shall explain your tortu, I mean training. Good luck. With that he took off, not before placing the staff on a very ornate weapon rack and closing the sliding door of the dojo close. Inside the changing room was bare with the exception of a few candle holders. There was an adjoining bathroom, but the door was locked. Naruto looked at the other girls and they looked at him. each sporting tomato-like blushes on their cheeks waiting for who will make the first move for 15 minutes. Akira released an exasperated sigh. Fine, if you two want I might as well set an example. She dropped her clothes and proceeded to remove her top and her skirt. She had a lean figure and tanned complexion with modest sized. She wore matching blue underwear. Afterwards she unfolded the suit of clothing and hastily pulled it on, noting the difficulty in which it took to move after it was on. See, that wasn't so bad, now it's your turn, she said, but frowned when she saw neither Hinata nor Naruto moved an inch. Okay, how about you just turn your backs that way, you would have some sort of privacy. Besides, Master told us to meet him in 30 minutes and that was 15 minutes ago. Suddenly being half-dressed in front of Hinata and seeing her half-dressed was not that much of a big deal anymore. The same could be said for Hinata. They both quickly turned their backs on each other and pulled of their clothing as quickly as possible. When they were both in nothing in but their underwear, Hinata, for a reason that she couldn't explain, turned slightly to see Naruto in nothing but boxers. Unfortunately, the same thought was on Naruto's mind. What he saw was an angel. She was quite curvy with a superb figure and ample. Her skin was smooth and soft and it reminded him of moonflowers. All this attention had her blushing so hard that she would make any tomato green with envy. Naruto-kun, please, you're staring. Her voice snapped him out of his daydream as he quickly averted his eyes. Sorry, Hinata-chan, I never noticed before, you're so beautiful. She smiled and blushed even harder at this. Naruto-kun just called me Chan and told me I'm beautiful. Naruto dropped his head. You probably think I'm some sort of pervert for looking. And no, I don't mind. Besides, I look too. What did I just say? She thought as realization dawned on what she said. That's enough, you two love birds. I don't want Master Kyoshi punishing me because we're late. That did the trick, and Naruto and Hinata hurriedly put their clothes on and headed out the door to the meeting room, each stealing glances of one another at times. It had been an entire half an hour later until Naruto and company finally arrived in the meeting room, panting and sweating profusely as they pushed aside the sliding door. The clothing they wore was not only extremely weighted but it seemed to hinder every movement they made, so just standing and walking a short distance was a task in itself. Akira herself was hardly able to make it as she needed assistance from both Naruto and Hinata. Master Kyoshi sat on a cushion on the tatame-covered floor behind a low desk, wearing robes that seemed to be made specifically for wearing for non-formal occasions. He sipped from a cup of tea and regarded his three tardy students with absolute sternness as he invited them to be seated on the cushions across from him. It was awkward as the clothing hindered all their movement. You are here so that I may explain the rules of this place, Naruto groaned, which was heard by Master Kyoshi, who launched a senbon from out of nowhere at a pressure point on the arm meant to inflict pain, my estimation of your current skill level, and a few guidelines. As he said this, he reached over and plucked the senbon out of Naruto's arm, easing his brief moment of torment. Discipline may be learned in one or more ways. It is up to you to choose how you would learn this, he said. Is that understood? Whatever, old man, Naruto mumbled under his breath while pouting and folding his arms. Just give us the stupid rules and start training us. Immediately there was a senbon lodged in both arms, causing the blonde Jinchuriki to grit his teeth in pain. Hinata, who was seated at his side, was about to comfort him when a firm hand coupled with the resistance of the suit stopped her. It was Master Kyoshi shaking his head, no, to her actions. I think there was something in my ear. What was that? He said, feigning ignorance. Yes, sensei. That's what I thought, he said as he reached over to pull out the pair of senbon. Now, as I was saying, the rules are simple and straightforward and are as follows. Never be late. Proper respect must be shown to me at all times and to your companions while in formal occasions. No one is allowed to try and persuade another not to leave. Training uniforms must be worn at all times except when bathing and sleeping. No complaints. Expect the unexpected. After your training is complete, you may train whoever you deem worthy, but you must take responsibility for that person's action. Finally, you must never reveal the location of this place or the source of your training. 8 rules, none of which was like any they've ever heard, and what is it with the no complaints and expect the unexpected rule? Burn these 8 rules into your memories and never forget them. Write it down if you must, but so long as you are here you will be governed by these rules. After which, you are free to make your own decisions. Hi sensei, they all answered at once. Good, he said with a smile coming across his lips. Now, the guidelines I am about to give you is for your benefit, and following them will help you greatly in your training, so pay close attention and feel free to ask for clarification on anything when I'm done. They all nodded their head with varying degrees of excitement with the prospects of finally training. Take everything one step at a time, have patience with yourself and rest when you are supposed to rest, and he turned serious again, and most importantly, never let your emotions guide you. Let them strengthen you and motivate you, but a decision made solely on emotions such as hate, anger, jealousy, greed, and vengeance is a poor decision and in the end will only lead to suffering. Naruto suddenly had a feeling of sadness wash over him. The words the old man spoke had a profound effect on him, as he knew from first-hand experience what he was talking about. Now that that has been said, remember it and hold fast to it. Are there any questions? This time Hinata was the first to speak up. Why do you keep saying that we can leave whenever we want? It is because, he pursued for effect, the strongest ninja is not the one with the ZZZZZ. Master Kyoshi suddenly fell asleep, leaving Hinata, Naruto and Akira amazed at the sight. What just happened? Naruto asked. Is he dead? No, Naruto-kun, Hinata giggled at him, he fell asleep. Are you kidding me? Akira voiced. How the hell does that happen? It's only 12. It's because he's really old, and Naruto never got to finish that crack as Master Kyoshi suddenly opened his eyes and continued just where he left off. Most powerful or has the most amount of ninjutsu, strongest taijutsu, fastest speed, most powerful genjutsu, or even the strongest muscle, but the one with the strongest of mind, and I'm not talking about being able to think either. He stopped and looked inquisitively at his 3 students who were staring at him with eyes as big as saucers and jaws on the floor. He smirked, feeling rather accomplished by their expressions, if only he knew. Okay, if that is all your questions, let me give you my estimation of your skill level. With that they came back to normal. First up is Akira of the Sukin clan. She knew what was coming. You have none, but have an advanced bloodline limit. She wasn't upset at this. It was true after all, and she was not one to delude herself. Next is Hinata of the Hyuga clan. She braced herself. Pathetic, not because you lack skill or strength. As a matter of fact, you are stronger than what I would expect, especially your control, but you limit yourself with stupid fear and indecision, and is only truly strong when he is there to witness. That will not do. You must discover your own strength and use his as a driving force, not as a source of acknowledgement. The words hit her like a truck, but they had its desired effect. He is right. I must find my own strength and become as strong as Naruto-kun. In Naruto, Master Kyoshi chuckled. I see tremendous potential in each of you, but yours seem to be far greater than any person I have ever known or met, even mine. But, you're a hothead who seem to have an issue or two with some of the worst chakra control I've ever seen. I'm still shocked as to how you are able to do that strange technique with the blue ball of chakra. I am, though, impressed with your ability to do Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, but I wonder if you even know the immense possibilities of that technique. And finally, your taijutsu is atrocious. You have no form, and even if you did, none of your punches or kicks would be life-threatening. Naruto, for the first time in his life, was speechless. In but a few sentences the old man had already measured him and found him wanting. Now follow me outside so that we can begin, and do not keep me waiting. 45 minutes later the 3 students were finally outside. It took them 15 minutes just to stand up. Now that you are finally here, start running and don't stop till I tell you to stop, Master Kyoshi said. I need to see where I need to start with you. They ran all day non-stop until one by one they each began to drop from exhaustion one by one, until finally Naruto came to a crashing halt after 5 kilometers. They had covered a distance that would be considered reasonable for a genin, with the exception of Akira, who couldn't make past 400 meters. Alright, meditate for 15 minutes, and when you're done I will teach you how to conceal weapons so you don't have to go about with that pouch and holster all the time. He said calmly, and I have already taken the liberty of burning your weapons pouch and holsters. After they meditated, he began to demonstrate the art of concealing weapons. Now you try, he said as he made an entire box of senbon, 20 kunai, 40 shuriken, a pair of kamas, a pair of sei, a short sword and a fuma shuriken appear from his clothing, and then making it all disappear back into his clothes. He then unfurled a scroll which he pulled out from under his robes and unsealed an arsenal 3 times as much as what he was currently carrying. The funny thing about the weapons was that they were all made of construction paper. These are your new weapons, and until you are able to use them like real weapons, you are forbidden to use real ones, he said, noting the faces of his 3 students, reason being, a ninja must be able to make anything in his hands a deadly weapon, from a stick to a peanut. Now start concealing these weapons. When I return there must be nothing left in your piles and I must not see any unusual bulges. But before he was gone into the house he paused. And don't bend them. When you get the hang of this you may wash up, eat and rest, your real training begins tomorrow. He began to walk away with one last thing before he disappeared in the doorway. Enjoy this freedom while it lasts, for tomorrow your new life begins and your old life ends. Later that day, Naruto and the girls, after getting the hang of concealing weapons, were treated to a meal of rice, fish and vegetables. Over dinner, Akira asked Master Kyoshi where exactly they were. He told them that this was a place where every hour that passed, only half had passed in the outside world. The name of the place was the Mountain of Forgotten Wounds. He named it that, something about time healing all wounds. After dinner they returned to their room where they were to sleep side by side on futons, but not before showering first. Master Kyoshi locked them all inside the room, saying it was for their own good and that they needed to become less distracted by the body of the opposite gender, and that Naruto was lucky to be getting such good training and need to grow up and stop acting like a child, and that he would get used to it. They eventually did become accustomed to seeing such sights, but that did not mean Naruto did not stop having feelings for Hinata and vice versa. To him she was like a goddess. After they were settled, Master Kyoshi came in and made them aware of the 3 charts on the ceiling, one of which was chart of pressure points and their effects, death, paralysis and unconsciousness, and the other a chart of striking point and their effects. Memorize each and every one of these points and their effects, as well as combining consecutive pressure points or striking points. Make them second nature to you. With that he left, leaving 3 very tired students staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow is going to be the beginning of hell. It was 5 o'clock in the morning and our 3 ninjas in training were all snug and warm on their futons, dreaming happy dreams, until a bucket of ice-cold water was dashed on them, immediately jolting them from their slumber. They're not accustomed to the water on the mountain as yet. You have 20 minutes to get ready and eat breakfast. After that meet me behind the house. With that he disappeared in the shadows of the room. Naruto and the girls complied, even though reluctantly, as they hastily washed up, put on their training suits and eat breakfast, but they soon felt ill as they saw what Master Kyoshi had set up for them at the back of the house. The back of the house was like a forest and got darker the further you looked, and there was a lake to the right, but that was not the cause for their sudden illness. The back of the house looked like something out of a war movie, except with a lot more traps that actually worked. There was an obstacle course starting with a 12-foot wall and a single ninja wire spanning 50 feet attached to the top of the wall, and a pole of similar height. From that there was more poles scattered haphazardly about in different heights leading to the lake, and from the lake thin slabs of either cardboard or sheeting ply on the surface in an arc leading back to the land, where rows of swinging blades awaited them to pass through, then through a jungle of ribbons and soft material, all with a large sheet of foil paper underneath, and a second 12-foot wall with a board perched on a stand on the other end, not to mention everything had bells on them. The scariest thing was, that was the things they could see. As they stared wide-eyed at the torture machine, the old man cleared his throat to get their attention. Before you begin, First warm up by stretching, then do 50 push-ups, 75 sit-ups and a 5-kilometer jog. Get going. To some that sounded like exactly what it was, a warm-up, but when you are not accustomed wearing tabbies, wearing a suit that resists every motion you make and adds 50 pounds to your body, this warm-up was more like having a Sunday jog across Canada. 2 hours later they were finished with their warm-up. Naruto didn't know how much more he could go. Hinata didn't know how she made it, and Akira, being the only non-ninja, was in tears as Master Kyoshi had practically forced them all to finish, and yet she did not give up even though he taunted, ridiculed and belittled them all the way at random intervals. Okay, now for the hard part, he said with a content smile on his face, but before we do, Naruto, impressive stamina, Hinata, you nearly give up a few times before looking at Naruto and changing your mind. Remember, the strength that you want is within you, all you have to do is believe in yourself, know somebody else. Akira, nice determination, especially since you had no prior training. Naruto scratched behind his head. Hinata had a look of determination, feeling more motivated than ever. There was no way she was going to let a non-ninja show her up, friend or otherwise, and Akira smiled widely while blushing from the praise she had received. But that was just the warm-up. All feelings of pride was gone, but the motivation and determination was still there, especially for Hinata. Akira, I can't teach you more than the basics, so for now I want you to practice with weapon throwing over there. Remember, no real weapons. I will be over there in a moment to check your progress and give you pointers. Hi, sensei. With that, she dragged off to a white line painted 30 feet away from a human-shaped dummy with red dots painted on the same key points from the charts in their rooms. How the hell am I supposed to throw paper cutouts and toothpicks without it blowing away or even getting it to stick in the stupid dummy? This is impossible. She ended her mental rant and resigned herself to her fate. Back with Naruto, Master Kyoshi was explaining their assignment, or torture, or whatever you want to call it. Firstly, I forbid the use chakra in this exercise. That seemed to take the wind out of Naruto's sail. You must scale the wall, move across the tight wire while killing or incapacitating the hidden targets. If you don't, they attack back. Hop from pole to pole without falling while dodging the weapons I will be throwing at you. Next, you run across the sheets on the lake and kill or incapacitate the targets in the boat without falling in. Make it through the blades without getting sliced up and through the ribbons and sheet without disturbing it. Go over the second wall and land on the board without breaking it or making a sound. Naruto and Hinata was as pale as ghosts now. Unfortunately, it did not end there. Oh, if hear a bell, the sound of the foil, I see the ribbon or sheets move, or you get hit by a weapon, you start over immediately, and you will do this every day except Sunday until you can do the entire course in 10 seconds or less. The grin he had on was almost sadistic. Hey, no need to worry, this is only level 1. Oh, by the way, and no bloodline ability. Begin. With that he disappeared, and some distance away Akira was laughing her head off at her companion's misfortune. Little did she know that this same fate awaited her sooner or later. It was now the weekend, and Naruto and Hinata made no progress beyond the tight wire. As a matter of fact, they couldn't even get on it without even making the bell jingle, and this was starting to rub on Naruto's nerves. They woke up Sunday morning expecting a day of non-progress. Well, except for Akira, she was actually making some marginal progress in weapons throwing. Ah! Naruto groaned as he was rudely awakened by Master Kyoshi. No need to be that way, he said with a grin on his face, we'll be taking a break today. Naruto immediately brightened up. No training today. I never said that, he answered. Today I would be working on the less physical aspects of your training and giving you a few pointers to complete the obstacle course so you don't have to wear your training suit, but I expect you to be fully armed and put on these weights. In a few minutes the three got into some clothes that Master Kyoshi had brought for them. They were a simple pair of black pants and white karate gi jackets tied with a black sash. After breakfast they were all assembled in the dojo as the last master began talking to them about the purpose of the obstacle course, which was speed, stealth, sharpening reflexes and senses or agility, and that a ninja without these skills is not a ninja at all. Then out of nowhere he pulled out a shogi board and asked who knew how to play. Hinata and Akira knew, but unfortunately Naruto didn't. The old man instructed Hinata and Akira to play while he explained the rules to Naruto, but during the discussion a thought occurred to him. Naruto. Yes, sensei. I must ask you a question, Master Kyoshi stated. Be honest, I won't hold your answer against you. Naruto looked confused but nodded a yes anyway. It's about the beast sealed within you. Naruto suddenly seemed a bit depressed. He still hadn't gotten over what happened to Hinata the last time he used its power. What about it? He asked. Will you use its power? No. His head shot up, his eyes filled with anger at the Kyuubi. I lost control and hurt Hinata-chan. I will never use that damn fox's chakra again. The master chuckled, proud of his student. But as a Jinchuriki you have responsibilities not to ever lose control no matter the situation. What do you mean? When you get angry, it uses your rage as fuel to gain a hold on you. So what can I do? If I ever see that snake bastard again who took Sasuke, I don't know what I might do. As he said this, his eyes started to turn red with slits. Just thinking about that bastard is getting me angry. Calm yourself, Naruto. You are already starting to change. Naruto suddenly snapped out of his rage and his eyes returned to its normal blue. Sorry. Don't worry about it. I can teach you to control the beast no matter how much of its chakra you use or how angry you get, but it will take intense training in mental discipline along with your physical training, he said with a flat stare. The best part of this is that you will be immune to all genjutsu except ones where you are taken into the user's mind. Those you can only defend yourself to a certain extent. Really? When do we start? Naruto was practically bouncing off the walls with excitement. I'm gonna learn genjutsu. Master Kyoshi sighed. Seems I'll have to teach him to pay attention. Oh well, that's part of what the shogi is for. First, you have to master that obstacle course. Naruto's head dropped. Now come on, we have a game of shogi to play. This will be good for you. It builds patience, which is good for mental discipline.